Everything's muted.
That's good.
Yep.
Although I put stuff on Do Not Disturb and Mom still gets through, so...
Well, you probably have your Do Not Disturb set up so she can come through. If she's labeled as an important person, she can come through still.
Yeah, I know. I do it, and then I realize that I literally just let everybody who actually contacts me through the filter. It's really not designed great.
No.
It's really just to keep the scam callers away.
Yeah. I mean, my Do Not Disturb works because when I'm in therapy and you're texting me about, like, whatever the fuck your coworkers are talking about. Love you! Love you guys! Yeah, so I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm 20 minutes into Sob Fest and then I have to fucking mute you. Oh my god, so tired!
Oh, so tired. Welcome back to the Kill Your Normie podcast, where we get deep on nerd culture and pop culture, because yes, it is that deep. It is a Sunday in August, and we're both absolutely exhausted.
August is really the Sunday of summer, right?
It is. It just, like...
No other month feels like a Sunday.
It's like Sunday Scaries, but for a whole month.
Yeah.
Because... obviously, everybody goes back to school, stuff starts again, my job starts their season.
I'm quitting. But
yeah, it's truly the Sunday Scaries.
August sipped away like a bottle of wine. What is it? What is the Taylor Swift line?
That is the line.
That's the line.
That's one of them, yeah.
August something moment in time.
Slipped away.
Slipped away. Like a moment in time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's...
In the wise words of Miss Swift, yes.
Yes.
So, we are here today to talk about the fanfiction to traditional publishing pipeline. But before we begin with that, do you want to do headshots and hyperfixations?
Headshots and hyperfixations!
Alright, am I going first? I guess
you go. Go ahead.
You looked at me. I don't really have any headshots. I have hyperfixations. I did Immersive Phantom last weekend.
And how was that?
Incredible. If you are a Phantom of the Opera fan, please go do this experience. It is not paywalled the way people say it has. There was a rumor going around that if you forgot a mask, they would make you pay $250 for one. That is bullshit. It's not true. The masks are free. Absolutely worth the money I paid. It's like kind of a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It's just, you're gonna have the best time. So highly recommend Masquerade NYC. Truly like one of the best things I have ever done. You got hired by Carlotta and then fired by Carlotta. Yeah. Oh, I had like such a fun time, and then I got a little drunk after, so it's really fun. Yeah. In the middle of the day. In the middle of the day. Yeah, you can go at night though. Yeah, it should be spectacular at night. During the day I do admit it probably loses a little something, but it was so fun. It was like, it was just like the 13-year-old me would have just absolutely like bawled on the floor. Yes. Absolutely. Oh, it was incredible. I spent that day at home playing 7 hours worth of 100 Line Last Defense Academy. But, so that's one of my hyperfixations still. So I won't go into that because I've gone into it before. My other hyperfixations for this week is I'm getting back into K-pop, unfortunately. Is it because of K-pop Demon Hunter? Yes. Did you see Heather put out a K-pop Demon Hunter? Yes, I have not watched it yet, Workout?
Though. Yeah. But, yeah, no, I've been getting back to K-pop. I've been watching the Stray Kids talkers when they go up. They were just in New York, and they were complaining that it was cloudy, and I'm like, that's New York for you. You were watching what? Stray Kids do, like, vlogs. They're a K-pop group. Oh, okay. Yeah, they're yeah. You're just saying words to me. Yeah, so I was watching those last night. And then, like, getting back into Twice, because Jonghyun's my ultimate bias. But yeah, getting back into K-pop. And then my big headline for this week is, as of today, which is the 10th? Sunday the 10th. They just put out the new trailer for One Piece Season 2, the live action. It looks so good. So good. They still are showing no more footage of Chopper other than the footage we saw earlier. Which I think they're trying to make him look a little better little more spruced up. Like, the design's fine, it's just the fur texture's weird. It just doesn't feel natural. I still think they should have made him a puppet, but that's just me. My dad and I are just about to finish up the Alabasta arc anyways, so basically we'll be set for season 2 when it comes out next year. And then they're shooting season 3 sometime soon. So that'll be exciting, but still looks good. So
yeah, not much on the news front for
it's August.
Yeah, there's not much happening for me. Oh, actually, so they announced spoilers for CBS Watson. Sherlock Holmes is gonna make an appearance, and they hide.
He's dead.
No, he comes back because that's what happens in the story. Is you can't kill him. It's just like a rule. You can't kill him. Well, they've hired their Sherlock Holmes. And it's Robert Carlyle.
No idea who that is.
He's Rumpelstiltskin on Once Upon a Time. He's also known...
watch Once Upon a Time.
But you know what he looks like. I will show you a picture.
Yeah,
of
all
Carlyle.
I'm thinking of is Nick Cage in Sorcerer's Apprentice for some reason.
Robert Carlyle from Once Upon a Time. He played Mr. Gold.
He looks like he could play...
He was also in Trainspotting. That's also what he was.
He looks like he could play Judge Turpin.
Yeah. That's...
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you know him.
I guess.
But yeah, that was... So CBS Watson, if you've read my review on the Substack, it was like middling reviews. Like, when it's not trying to actively be something else, like, it's good. But whenever it leans into the Sherlock thing or to the medical mystery thing, it doesn't do super well. When it's its own thing, it does well. So, but the Robert Carlyle news may be just enough to get me to watch season 2. I still haven't finished season 1. Just because certain things happened that angered me. I thought it was
still airing season 1.
No.
Oh, okay.
It wrapped like months ago.
Oh. I don't know how TV works.
And it got like a second season. Yes, shows start. Well, this started mid-season. This one's gonna start in the fall now.
Listen, the only TV media that I know like consistently is anime, because it's just like every 3 months you get 20 new shows, and that's it.
No, yeah, you gotta know, like, you don't know shit about Western television, do you?
Vaguely.
But you know that like shows start in the fall and end in the spring.
I know, but
right?
then there's some shows that start in the summer.
No, not always. So it's mostly game shows and stuff, and then occasionally there's stuff that starts in the summer to fill time slots.
Yeah, but like Bob's Burgers goes through the summer.
This year's scheduling was weird. Bob's Burgers does not go through the summer, typically. The Fox's scheduling this year for its animation lineup was really
it makes no sense. It makes no goddamn sense. Anime is consistent,
but they were also competing with the Super Bowl and a bunch of other football stuff, so they would keep getting pushed. And then also, don't forget,
we know the Super Bowl happens every year.
Also, don't forget it was an election year.
Oh,
so there was a lot of coverage there as well. So stuff gets moved around. So like, Bob's Burgers and Great North and Simpsons was the only one who finished on time. But Bob's Burgers and Great North, from what I'm looking at scheduling wise, it's gonna be like almost seamless from this season to the next because of how many they have had to get out before the next season. So it's next season's supposed to be better scheduling. They said that it's not going to be weird anymore. They did move the Animation Domination lineup to Thursdays over the summer because they had to make room for stuff that airs on Sundays during the summer, because typically there is no new animation lineup. So
when are we getting new Smiling Friends?
I don't know. September, I thought they said.
Oh, right.
So next month at some point.
I'm excited for that.
But that's streaming. That's the Wild West.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're not talking about television today. We are talking about books and fanfiction.
It's like television for your head.
It's television for your brain.
Your brain, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can't see me, but I'm tapping
the world's smartest supercomputer up here.
Yep. So yeah, we thought we would talk about... This was like, again, on the long list of episode ideas we made when we first started, like, talking about the podcast. Because this is a phenomenon that has pretty much been around our entire adolescence, but only, like, in recent years has it really, really, really ramped up.
Yeah, well, not necessarily ramped up, it's more that it's come to the public consciousness that this is what's happening. Because it's been around basically my entire reader life.
Yeah. Because 50 Shades came out when I was in high school. And I did not know what 50 Shades was, to the point where actually I carried... So when I used to go to the bookstore, because I would have a limited budget...
You would just get stacks.
I would make a stack, and then I would have to make cuts based off what my budget was. Now I'm an adult with adult money and don't have to...
And then you'll be like, I'm not going to buy any books, and you come out of Barnes & Noble like, I bought 8 books.
Yes, I did. And I have no space for any of that. I have to cull my books very soon. I was looking at my shelves and I was like, I just
Your
realized.
shelves? You mean your windows and your stacks? And
No, I was looking at like everything and realizing that there is stuff that I should probably just get rid of because I know I'm not going to read it.
It is wall-to-wall books in her room, by the way. Like, wall-to-wall.
Yeah. But I used to go to the bookstore, make a stack, and then make cuts after I kind of like had gotten to the end of my trip there. And one particular trip when I was in high school, I saw one of the 50 Shades books there, and it had like a masquerade mask on it. So I thought like it was going to involve a masked ball of some kind, which I think one story does.
Yeah.
But I saw like 50 Shades, and I read
50 Shades Darker.
I definitely picked up the first one because I realized like there was a series to it, and so I picked up the first one and I read the back, and it sounded like, you know, like tortured male hero, whatever. And so I carried that around with me
as a high schooler,
no knowledge of what this was. And then we were in the car on the way to school the next morning, and there was a radio show on it was called Craig and Company. Do you remember Company?
Yes.
I don't think it's on anymore. But they used to do like trivia in the morning, and like people could call in, and they had to compete against the answers of like one of the co-hosts. And one of the questions was like, what is like the, you know, spicy novel that's on the...
I remember that. I actually remember that.
Yeah, I remember. It was like, what was the spicy novel that's on the nightstands of many a housewife across the U.S.? And someone said 50 Shades, and I was like, what? Wait, what? Because I was a very, like, sheltered high schooler. Like, I was not, like, going in and looking up, like... anything. I was not reading anything particularly dirty at the time. So I was shocked that a little, like, I was 14, 15, but I look quite young, and I looked way younger then, just carrying that around, hoping that nobody knew what I was holding.
Yeah, I just remember being in high school, and it was when the sequel was coming out, I think. So I think there was also 50 Shades Darker, where they had the Taylor Swift song with Zayn Malik as well.
That's also a good song.
I hated that song because I kept hearing the ad constantly.
I like that song.
I hated it. I couldn't, like, baby, I feel great. It annoyed the crap out of me. And I'm not even saying, like, I'm an anti-Swiftie. I've been listening to her my whole life. But, like, it annoyed that song. I can't stand it.
That whole music video is Reputation coded, though.
Yeah. I thought she was coming out with Reputation at the time.
She had not done anything with Reputation yet. She hadn't even, like, left the face of the earth yet.
I don't know, but anyway, either way.
That was, like, the last thing she put out before she just
Either way. Don't like that song. Annoyed the crap out of me.
I like it.
I was so happy when the third movie came out, and I'm just like, now I can stop hearing about it.
Actually, a lot of good stuff came off the 50 Shades soundtracks. Because there's an Ellie Goulding song also that came out of the 50 Shades soundtrack. Hold on, I'm pulling it up.
Oh my god.
I need to see, like, what... Because, like, there are songs that I did not realize were part of the 50 Shades.
I only know 2 Ellie Goulding songs.
Well, she was huge in the 2010s.
Yeah, I remember Lights and I know Human. And that's about it.
That's not Ellie Goulding.
That is Ellie Goulding.
Human is Christina Perry.
No, that's a different song. That is a different song.
But the same name.
Yeah, it's the same name, but it's a different song. Completely different song.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I know what song
50
it was.
Shades. Okay, here we go. 50 Shades of Grey, original motion picture. We've got Love Me Like You Do.
Oh, I hated that song. I was so annoyed.
Like that song? Okay. And some of these things are just like songs that pre-existed the movie.
Yeah.
50 Shades Darker. We got I Don't Want to Live Forever. There was another one. Okay, Nick Jonas and Nicki Minaj is an insane collaboration. The Scientist cover. Crazy.
The Scientist is a good song, though.
It is a good song. Next.
We're white people. We like Coldplay.
Let's see. Is there one that, like, really hit the zeitgeist?
No.
Not in the third one. Oh, Love Me Like You Do
is still there.
Yeah. It's mostly that.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So, yeah, 50 Shades came out when we were in high school, and then only later on did it come out that was Twilight fanfic.
Apparently it was, like, I think it was an open secret between the people who knew, like, the book when it first came out.
And I was never a twihard growing up, so this is not something I would have known.
I mean, I read 2.5 books of Twilight.
You did?
In 6th grade, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Because I'm just like, listen, if I'm going to hate on something,
I mean,
I need to hate on it accurately.
I had that same opinion.
And I got a little invested in it, and my 6th grade teacher was actually really happy that I got into it, because she also liked it. I didn't like my 6th grade teacher. I didn't like the fact that she was trying to bond with me over Twilight. But, yeah, I barely remember anything about any of the book past Twilight.
Well, like, and this is another thing that we were talking about. Twilight lends itself to fan fiction because a lot of the characters are kind of blank slate, especially Bella, which is kind of what you want.
Yeah.
When it comes to maybe a not so great written romance novel. Now, I have not read 50 Shades.
No.
So I can't speak to the writing in that book in particular, but we're not really talking about 50 Shades specifically, we're just talking about the phenomenon that it created.
Let's review 50 Shades when we have not seen it or read it. I've watched video essays.
I've seen 2 of the movies, and I remember being kind of underwhelmed. Like,
well, the fact that they're like, it's like hardcore BDSM thing, and it's like the most basic ass
it's
missionary
really,
sex.
There's worse things you can find. Like, let's just be clear. We're
I can show you the
truly. So again, we're not going to talk about 50 Shades, just 50 Shades. We're going to talk about kind of the phenomenon it created, because also we were talking about this in our preliminary meeting. At the time, we also had Cassandra Clare's Throne of Glass series. Was it Throne of Glass? Or was it Mortal Instruments?
Mortal Instruments, yes.
Instruments, which
was Harry Potter fanfiction. I'm not sure if it was specifically Hermione. I said Hermione during our meeting, but I don't
so
think...
she's ginger, so I think it's a Ginny thing.
It might be. I have no idea. I will be honest, I'm going on the record here. I have no idea what's... I just know that it was Harry Potter fanfic first.
Yes. And that was not widely known either.
Again, I think it was another open secret situation where the people who bought it first knew that it was Harry Potter fic first, because she was a big name fan in the Harry Potter fandom community. You could say a lot of shit about Cassandra Clare. I'm not going to go into it.
Yeah. No,
that could be a whole episode. That could be a whole episode. And we're not big Potterheads either. So yeah,
like we are not the person to cover this.
Yeah.
There are much more robust researchers who will cover that.
But yeah, that the Mortal Instruments series was basically it started out as Harry Potter fanfiction.
Yeah.
And I never read the Mortal Instruments. It was part of like that YA zeitgeist back when we were like,
it was during that urban fantasy boom, which was not my bag personally. I was not really reading that at the time.
I just remember it being like, because when I was first getting into like fandom culture, I was in book fandom. So we did like Hunger Games, John Green, that kind of Divergent, that kind of stuff, and that the Mortal Instruments was also kind of lumped into that.
Yeah,
thing. So it was around. It was around.
Yeah. No, and I remember there was a girl I followed named Sasha Alsberg. She was a booktuber way back in the day. She doesn't do much of it anymore, but her whole thing was she loved the Mortal Instruments, and the Lily Collins movie had come out, and this girl bared resemblance to Lily Collins. And she had the red hair and everything. Yeah, so like this is not a new thing, but the thing that I think flipped it, because there is a bit of a before and after. I'd say 50 Shades is the one that like really sent it into the stratosphere, just because it wasn't like YA market only. It was like, this was adults.
Yeah, this was adult women reading it.
But I feel like was it Ali Hazelwood series?
I'm not sure if it was a series. There was one specific book. I can't remember what it was called.
It's no, I know. Yeah, it's a series of books. They're not all like connected necessarily. It's The Love Hypothesis. The Love Hypothesis, which was 2021.
Ray Lofic.
It's Ray Lofic. Which, for those who are not in the know, Reylo is Kylo Ren and Rey from Star Wars,
which we have neutral feelings on.
I have neutral feelings on. Listen, I love a Beauty and the Beast story. All right, like, well, I will, I see some cute fan art. It's fine.
I do like a dark brooding hero. I just don't care enough about Star Wars.
Yeah. So do I think it was handled interestingly in the movies? Yes. I felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. I understand people were rooting for it, but still.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say the Ali Hazelwood Love Hypothesis thing was the first time where it was sort of blatant. Because when the cover was released, it was like, I remember the first thing everyone said was, doesn't this kind of look like Kylo Ren and Rey from Star Wars?
It's specifically because it's like the male lead has this like shaggy dark hair, but he has specifically also like Adam Driver's nose.
Yes.
And then the girl could be like any generic girl with a bun, but like the fact that it is specifically a messy bun, like Rey's messy bun.
Yeah. It's
and again, we're not super into Star Wars, so like we wouldn't have picked up on any of that.
Yeah. So that was definitely the moment where we were like, everyone kind of went, huh. And I think also people started to keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
So now
there's like a Harry Styles fanfic that
Yeah,
became a movie,
there's
right?
like real person fanfic. Now, so you're thinking of The Idea of You.
Yes.
That has been sort of debunked as not being Harry Styles fanfiction.
Oh, okay. I did not know
the author
that.
was interviewed. She was like, that is the shortened kind of like bastardized version of the story of how I wrote this book. I don't remember all the details of how she wrote the book. The one that I can say for sure is Harry Styles fanfiction is the After series.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, actually.
Yeah. The Idea of You was a different thing entirely. No, the After series, those movies I did try to watch and I could not get through them.
Yeah.
They were really bad. I'm sorry. Like, if you like them, great. I hated every second. So, like, and that also draws a line because real person fanfic is kind of where I personally draw the line. I am not going to stop anybody from writing it or reading it. It's just not something I feel comfortable interacting with or making.
Real person fanfic, the line that I've realized with real person fanfic, it's also a lot blurrier than a lot of people think, because I'm into Minecraft YouTubers, and a lot of like the comics and stuff that come out of the Minecraft YouTuber space could be considered real person fanfic. But even though people are just like, yeah, no, we're using their personas, not them, but some of them are referred to by their real names, so the line can get blurry in certain fandoms. Things that are like blatant, like, I got sold to One Direction, not my bag.
I got sold to One Direction. I love the fact that it's become like a trope within itself, because I can't even like associate that version of One Direction with the real One Direction. And I wasn't even a One Direction fan, but the fact that like I got sold to One Direction,
I was on Wattpad when those were like a big thing.
Like, it's become such a, or there's also the girl who brings the book to the boy band concert, and Harry Styles like picks you out of a crowd because you're reading at a concert.
Girl, why would you be reading at a concert, is my question.
Well, she got dragged by friends. She didn't really want to go.
Oh,
She's like she's like not really into the boy band.
Oh my god.
She's special.
What's that? The superstar, what movie was it? Disney Channel?
Starstruck.
Starstruck, yeah.
Yeah.
How starstruck of her. But
that's such a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's probably a lot more like fiction that we see nowadays that is based on fan fiction. We just don't know, because it's either better at hiding it or we just don't know that fandom.
That's true.
And I don't necessarily think that taking a fan fiction that you that like a piece of writing that you're proud of and turning it, basically just flipping a bunch of the dialogue and stuff.
It's called filing the serial numbers off.
Not even that, but I'm more just like being like, okay, I like this concept, let's just see if I can make it into something different. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that. I think that there's more of an issue with the fact that, like, because basically fanfiction bled into the literary world, now people are getting introduced to fanfiction and then trying to take certain fanfiction ideas and make them mainstream.
Yeah.
In kind of a sense. What I'm thinking of specifically is like tropes.
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning here. So when we were going into research for this episode, the very first thing we wanted to do was kind of establish a baseline. So the fanfic, anything that started out as fanfiction and then gets traditionally published is typically in the romance novel space. I do not think I have seen it in any other genre, at least that I know of. If you know of anything that is fanfiction that is in a completely different genre other than the romance novel genre, I mean, I can't
think of anything. Yeah, not off the top of my head.
So we kind of wanted to look into, like, okay, first of all, like, the romance novel industry is huge. The thing is, romance novels has become such a conversation right now in the zeitgeist, just because there's just a lot of controversy over, like, what's real reading? What are women reading? And is it bad for them? Blah, blah, blah. Like, there's a lot of discourse surrounding romance. But the thing was, I do think there's a difference between, like, these versions of romance novels that are out and popular now and your typical, like, stuff your mom read, stuff your grandmother read.
Things you would find on your grandmother's, like, in your grandmother's bathroom.
Things you'd find at the grocery store or the drugstore. Like, your typical bodice ripper, the mass market paperback. I think there's a big difference between those two things. But before that, when those were king, like the bodice rippers were king, they were keeping publishing's lights on. That industry has been, like, financial king for decades.
Women are consumers.
And publishing refused to acknowledge that for a long time.
Until basically now.
Ren and I watched a documentary that I personally love. I'd seen it before, but we did a rewatch. It's called Love Between the Covers. It's on Tubi. It's actually it's in various.
It's on Poob. Poob has it.
Poob has it for you.
Tubi.
It's on Tubi. I think it's also on like Vudu or something. Like it's on a bunch of different like weird streaming services. But it was released in 2015. I do believe it was shot maybe a few years prior, just based off like the fashion and the technology that's being used. But it was about the romance novel industry as it was known then. It's not so much about what it's like now. So the people they were covering were like Eloisa James, also like Bridgerton was quite big at this time, but this is pre-TV show. So like Bridgerton was still lumped in with like the rest of these ones. And they interviewed a bunch of readers as well as a bunch of authors. And as someone who like grew up kind of like scoffing at romance novels, it definitely made me like appreciate it more and like not judge as harshly, which is why I like end up reading them now, because I'm like, it's not a shameful thing, even though it's not like most of what I read. I still like a romance novel. Like,
I have trouble finding romance novels, and that's just more of a personal taste thing. I'm not a big romance girly. It has to be like a very, very specific kind of book to get me into it.
well, I find I'm pretty picky as well. Yeah.
But like there's a bunch of, they were talking about these readers basically devour romance novels. There was one girl who's just like, I've read every single one of her books since like the 80s. And she was like in her 20s and she had only just started reading them like a few years ago.
Yeah, these women are like voracious readers.
Yeah.
And like and I know nowadays when like women talk about like, I've read like this many books in a year, and people don't believe them. These women, I had no trouble believing them. And granted, this was at 2015, probably a little earlier, and like there are less distractions at that time. Like, you know, there's no TikTok. There was hardly Instagram.
Yeah.
There was a little bit
Twitter.
of Twitter, and there was Facebook. Like there wasn't a lot of distractions as there are now.
A lot of them talked about like reading was their escape.
Yes, that was a huge thing. And that's a big thing too that also we can tie to fanfiction. Escapism. So that's incredibly huge. A lot of these women had discussed like being in unhappy marriages or just like being with people who didn't appreciate them or see them, and using these books as a way to like see what a relationship in which they are seen feels like. They would also use writing romance novels, like being readers and then becoming writers to escape these situations.
There was also there was a Black author, I forget her name. I think it was...
I have it here. It was...
Beverly Jenkins?
Beverly Jenkins.
Yes, Beverly Jenkins.
Yeah.
She was probably my favorite person to hear from.
Her.
My favorite person to hear from. She was a Black romance author. Who basically, one of the things she talked about was the fact that like when she started reading romance novels, there weren't many romance novels for people who looked like her. She was a dark-skinned Black woman, and she's like, people just didn't find us desirable. People didn't find us beautiful. People didn't find us pretty. So she's like, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. And then she basically, all she writes is Black romance novels. And she grew like an entire readership of Black women who wanted to read romance novels about people who looked like them. And it's so touching to just see this like crowd of people around her, like she's like goddamn Chris Evans. Like it's
yeah, and she also talked about like seems to be trying to cover the Black history of like all the states, which I also thought was pretty cool. So she's like a huge researcher. She also holds like historical tours in different cities with like readers of her books, and they will do these walking tours and stuff. So she's also like really great.
I should read some of her books. She just sounds like really, really cool.
Yeah. So like these women are incredibly like, first of all, the output's crazy. Some of the output for like people putting out these books is crazy, and like they're also some of like Eloisa James, she's probably my favorite one just because she's the first one I ever read. Because I read When Beauty Tamed the Beast.
Which is actually, they mentioned in the
documentary, but it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which I love. But also, I found it because someone said it was basically House MD fanfiction. Because the main character was very loosely based off the character of House. And I had no idea about that. And so I did read it. It was probably one of the best things I've ever read. Like, I have not felt so like the characters I felt so connected to, like you were really rooting for them. And you see that. Like, one of the women they interviewed said, like, oh, I'm constantly thinking about them like they're real people. I'll think, like, what are these people doing now? How many kids do they have? Where do they live? Do they, you know, like, the fact that, like, these characters stay with them.
They feel real.
They feel real. And Eloisa James talked about, like, because they're like, your output's insane. Like, because they're putting out sometimes 2 books a year.
Well, one of the authors talked about, she's like, yeah, my first book took me 5 years to write. Second one took a year. Third one was 4 months.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it's...
Well, yes. But also, like, she's like, one thing she's like, I do is I learned this from men. She's like, I find women try to be more word perfect. I just try to get it on the page. She's like, I don't worry about being perfect. Men don't worry about being perfect, so I'm just going to get it out there first. And
what would a mediocre white man do?
Truly! Like, that's what some of these women were really doing, and I thought that was incredible. They also talk about, like, you know, because people are like, you know, these books are formulaic, because they really emphasize the happily ever after. Now, fanfiction... The HEA. Yes. And fanfiction doesn't really do this, because certain fanfics are literally designed to be as tragic as possible.
And those are my favorite, by the way. Those are my favorite.
I love those as well.
Yeah.
Or I love a good, like, really, really, really angsty, but then we get happy ending.
No, I'm not getting shot 37 times in the chest before you put a band-aid on it. I don't want to read it. Nothing but love to my HEA girlies, though.
Yes. But they talk about that, and they're like, yeah, people, like, men will be like, it's formulaic. And they're like, men never get called formulaic. And they're like, if you watch any action movie, like, the guy I know is not gonna die. Like, it's... Guys have their fantasies as well, and it's action movies. And they do point this out, and they also say, like, you know, it's never gonna get respect because it's women's literature, it's women's stories, it's women's pleasure at the forefront.
In multiple ways.
Also, like, books with tragedy are treated with more respect.
Yeah.
Like, if it's sad, it's treated with you know, more, like, this is a classic. This is, you know, this is real literature.
Well, it's also, like, we've become accustomed into, like, the general cultural zeitgeist of women getting fridged. Yep, women getting fridged. And so a woman just being like, she's pursuing what she wants and she gets what she wants at the end is not really a fantasy that a lot of men can wrap their heads around. Cis men, specifically, can wrap their heads around. Especially, or, like, just straight men, because, like, even gay men, like, have gotten very, very used to, like, tragic endings. Or there was a lesbian author in the documentary who was basically just like, I like these romance books, but there was, like, maybe one or two I could find for me, and so basically they made an entire queer imprint. And they work with different authors, and there was one girl who was, like, so ecstatic that this author wanted to, like, publish her book, and I'm just like, exactly!
Yeah. And it's really interesting because, again, this documentary is about 10 years old now, where I'm like, oh, it's so crazy that there's just a queer imprint in this one, yet nowadays the queer stuff's shelved right alongside the straight stuff. And you can...
Heartstopper, Red, White, and Royal Blue,
boyfriend material, and same with, like, lesbian fiction as well. And, like, you know, people are also trying to do more with, like, bisexuality or asexuality or, like, all these different things. Like, you know, we're getting there. So it was really interesting to also, like, see how far we had come.
In just 10 years.
Yes. The other big thing that we pointed out that we also could tie back to fanfiction was the community that these women had built.
Oh, huge. Huge community.
Yeah, they covered the, I think it was called the Romance Writers
Association.
The
RWA.
Conference. I knew exactly where it was being held. That was the Marriott in Times Square. Like, I knew exactly where that was.
The fact that it's the Marriott in Times Square, though, that's big.
There's a theater in there. And basically, you can go if you're a reader. You can go if you're a writer. There were new writers there to help get advice on publishing and things like that. And it's very much a pay-it-forward kind of attitude. So the published women who got mentored early on are told to pass that on to, like, a new writer.
Which is good.
That's incredible. Yeah. Like, and there was another woman they interviewed, I wish I could remember her name, but she reached out to Eloisa James because Eloisa James had written a series, I forget what the book was called, but it involved a group of sisters. The main character was the one getting married, but there was, like, a younger sister who was heavier.
She was a fat girl. Yeah,
she was a fat girl. And the woman who they interviewed was like, I wrote to her because, like, that was...
She felt seen. And so, like, Eloisa James would actually write back to her and be just like, hey, I'm doing this scene with that character where she's, like, getting bullied and stuff like that. Am I going too far with this? And the writer would be like, you're not going far enough. You're not going far enough. This is how it would be like. And the fact that, like, there's such a collaborative aspect of it and they're so willing to kind of reach out to other people. It's very heartwarming.
It is. And so then that woman also became so close with Eloisa James that she started coordinating her fan club
Yeah.
and doing giveaways and helping her with Facebook. And then Eloisa James is hooking her up with other authors and she's helping run their fan clubs and doing giveaways and their websites and things. And now she's built this group of friends. She also talked about how, like, these books taught her what kind of standards to have for relationships in her life.
And that's how she found her husband.
And like, she seems genuinely happy. And she's like, I learned not to settle. It would have been so easy for me to just take what I was given, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And now I'm happy. And I'm just like, that's the thing that people don't understand, I think, about these types of books. Like, again, like, there are definitely some very toxic things that get modeled in these books. Because sometimes that's the genre. I think what people don't realize is that romance isn't really just a genre. There's a lot of there's a lot of subgenres within it.
And there's a lot of, it's also a fantasy.
It is.
Yeah.
And they also talked about how this is sort of a very safe way to explore aspects of sexuality and your desire and all that stuff in a very safe way. And you are 100% in the driver's seat and you can stop and start. Or
you don't like
down.
it, you can close the book.
I think it's very different than, like, I think it's just a different way of experiencing it than, like, watching a video or watching a movie or a TV show.
Yeah, especially because if you're reading a book, it's written by one person. The people on the pages aren't real. You don't have to really see if they're modeled by anyone. It's all in your head. It's probably the least exploitative way to consume any sort of sexual content.
Yes.
It's all, again, world's greatest supercomputer up in your brain. So
yeah, so there's a lot of benefits to the romance novel as an object. You know, there's a lot of, I do think there's some valid discourse around it, especially in the dark romance space, especially if, like, you know, people don't know what's real and what's not, which I don't think is really as big of an issue as people make it out to be.
I think that's more of an issue with, like, if you're 14 and you're reading, like, a dark romance, even if you think you're mature enough for it, you should also just know, like, hey, this isn't something you have to do. This isn't something you have to put up with. If a guy tries to tie you up and throw you in the back of his car, you're allowed to scream for help.
Yes.
Yes. All that kind of stuff. Where I also think that, like, there's a bit of, when it comes to the dark romance discourse, there's a bit of infantilization there. Of young women, and, like, people talk about, like, why can't they just read, like, Pride and Prejudice? And it's like, well, Pride and Prejudice was getting the same backlash when it was first published.
It was, because Jane Austen popularized the domestic romance story, where, like, women kind of led small lives back then, and she gave them importance. Yeah.
I've actually never read Pride and Prejudice. I should, but...
Have you seen the movie?
Never seen the movie, never seen the miniseries.
You should see the movie. Yeah. Miniseries I've heard is good too. That one I've yet to see, but I do like the 2005 movie, as many girls do. And I'm also, again, like, I'm more of a Bronte girl than a Jane Austen girl, and the Bronte ones are pretty toxic. Yeah. Like, Wuthering Heights, hello. Jane Eyre, hello. I haven't read anything by the third one. I think she's mostly a poetry person, but,
the third
one, yeah, because it's...
And Peggy.
Yeah. So, let's go into, like, why, okay, so... knowing all this about, like, why the romance novel is incredibly popular, what makes... Well, first of all, we have to talk about the history. So, published fanfiction is actually not a new phenomenon.
No.
Fanfiction was not an online thing to begin with. It began with, like...
The tradition of fanfiction. Well, like, because if you want to talk about, like, works being inspired by other works, that goes back centuries.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about, like, fanfiction as fanfiction, you have to go back to Star Trek.
Yes. Everything leads back to Star Trek.
Everything leads back to
Sherlock Holmes.
Or Sherlock Holmes. Yeah. Because basically, Star Trek had, like, housewife fandoms, who basically they would get together and they would write their fanfiction and they would basically mail it to each other.
Yep. Fanzines, physical fanzines.
They would invite actors to their house to, like, talk to them. Like, that was really the women built fandom.
They did.
Women at home who were bored built fandom.
They did.
And so fanfiction always started as basically this very, very female-led hobby. And this very, very women-led hobby. I mean, the first BL was Spark. But, so it's always been around, but it's also always been very, very hush-hush. Because copyright law was still a thing, and again, women's sexuality was still heavily policed back then. And then even, like, as we go into the internet age, you get people like Anne Rice, who did not like fanfiction at all.
She was the writer of Interview with the Vampire.
Yes.
Wrote the gayest vampire book ever.
And then said, you can't be gay.
And then got mad when people made her characters gay.
It's the same thing with the girl who wrote The Outsiders. She hates fanfiction of The Outsiders.
Oh, really?
She hates it. Absolutely hates. She's not like Anne Rice litigious about it, but she's just like, I wrote straight characters. They're straight characters. And everyone was just like, okay, Sarah. I forget if her name's Sarah or not.
It's S.E. Hinton, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think, yeah. But, yeah, she hates Outsiders fanfiction. And so basically Anne Rice, back in the day, would go after people with lawyers.
Yep.
If they wrote fanfiction and she found out about it. So, if you're like, if you're a fandom old, like us, you might remember seeing things on fanfic.net where it would be like, I don't own the characters. I don't own them. They belong to whoever the author is. Mm-hmm. I'm just borrowing them, basically.
Yes.
And so people will put that basically as their legal statement of ownership. And now you have places like AO3 where you can just kind of publish what you want because it's considered free.
It's an archive.
It's an archive, but it's also considered fair use under American copyright law.
Yes. Other
countries are different because Japan has much different copyright laws, and if you're trying to make fanfic in Japan, which usually is doujinshis, it's very much don't ask, don't tell. Where everyone kind of knows it exists, but if you bring it up to the company, then they have to shut it down. It can also depend on the fan works, but it's a lot of this like open fan works thing is can be a very, very Western thing. Which is why I don't think we see too many Eastern... I don't see a lot of Eastern published works, at least in the West, that strike me as complete fanfiction. Yeah. Fanfics. But I'm getting off topic.
Yeah, so we... Back in the day, it used to be you were either Anne Rice or you were J.K. Rowling, we don't like J.K. Rowling, but back in the day, she was considered very, very supportive of fan works. Mm-hmm. So you were either an Anne Rice who was sending, like, DMCA takedowns, or you were J.K. Rowling who was, like, live and let live, play in the sandbox.
Yeah.
So then we get back to 50 Shades, and when that was sort of the first thing that hit the cultural zeitgeist of, hey, this was fan fiction. Stephanie Meyer, who wrote Twilight, kind of expressed, like, I'm a little concerned about it, but then she didn't sue, which sort of just opened the floodgates.
Yeah.
So now we can get into kind of like, why does fanfiction make for good books? So for this section, I did a little bit of research through... It was really hard to find, like, actual interviews and research for this, because everything I found... research-wise was like commentary, which is not always the most...
It's an opinion piece.
It's an opinion piece, but I read... So this is from the Mixed Feelings Substack, which is talking specifically about fanfic to traditional publishing. Pipeline, not Pipeline. And she interviewed a few different authors who started in fanfiction space, took their works, and then moved into traditional publishing. So one of the things that they said makes fanfic kind of like a good book is Jillian Eliza West is an author that was interviewed. She's basically said it's hooky, and that Harry Potter fanfiction kind of taught her what caught readers' eye. And she says, quote, "In a fandom that is so saturated, where everyone has 500 tabs open on their browser, I had to learn very quickly how to hook people immediately and build out a world in as little time as possible so people stayed engaged. The immediate feedback of what was successful or not, especially in terms of character and relationship development, was crucial to me as a writer." Because you get that serialized aspect to it. Comments, likes,
feedback.
You automatically know what's hitting and what's not.
Yeah.
From an audience right there and then. So then they talked to another author named Bridget Knightley, who wrote the Hermione fanfic, Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love. Said that she wrote that fic, logged out of AO3, and then came back months later to find thousands of messages from readers, including ones from literary agents and editors. So this isn't like... This isn't even just, like, fans sort of pointing to what they want. publishers are taking notice.
Yeah.
So they're now starting to troll AO3 rather than, like, the slush pile.
Yeah, which I'm personally not a fan of. Again, you can't control who goes on AO3 and who doesn't. And I wouldn't want to. But I do think the idea of, like, the fan space and the professional space, to me, has always been kind of, each have been its own thing. It can get a little blurry in, like, a YouTuber fandom or something like that, but for the most part, it's like, if you were a fan person, you keep all your, like, really personal fan works that people may not agree with, you keep them in the fandom. You do not show them to the author.
Oh, yeah.
And so when that professional world decides to come into the fan space to be like, I want this, and I want this, and I want this, that always feels weird to me.
It can set a really weird precedent, especially because, yeah, like, it used to be, like, fan stuff, and the fans and the fan work would remain very separate in terms of creativity and output.
Especially fan fiction.
Yes.
Fan art is a little bit more, because, like, everyone wants to see, like, oh, I think your character's cool and I drew them.
Yeah.
I think your character's cool and I drew them and I wrote them getting railed. It's a completely different beast.
We're never gonna get advertisers.
We're never getting advertisers. But yeah, it's a completely different beast. And again, there was a sentiment in fandom, at least up until a few years ago, where it's just like, if you write fan fiction, do not send it to a writer. Do not send it to anyone who works in production of whatever you're writing about, because it could, like, you could end up in legal trouble. Not necessarily because, like, they could sue you, but more like, if they read your fic and accidentally take an idea from that, they could be liable to lawsuit. Most of them basically can't read any of the fanfiction that comes out of fandom. Not to say that, like, everyone avoids it, but, you know.
Yeah.
And so the idea of, like, there's literary agents coming into fan spaces and being just like, I like you, come write, like, an official book for us. I also think that it also incentivizes people to make worse fanfic.
Like, make worse fanfic because they're aiming to get published?
They're aiming to get published. Because I think some of the best fanfic really, really marinates in the world of the fic.
Oh yeah,
even if it's a modern.
It's like 60 chapters, like,
yeah, well,
10 billion words, like,
more just like the characters have to be so specific to that world. Like, I'm thinking of my favorite fic of all time, which I think is one of the greatest written works I've ever read, is Sympathy Crime. You can't separate Sympathy Crime from Persona 4. You just can't. There's no possible way you can separate the two, because it's just, the world building is so intertwined with it. And I feel like there might be more of an incentive for people to be like, this is a modern AU where it's basically the characters are just actors of themselves.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to get noticed by an author. And I'm like, at that point, just...
I mean, at that point, it's like, it's not that hasn't existed before, because sometimes that's some of my favorite stuff to read.
Yeah.
I love when it's like a modern AU where they put you in the real world.
And I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because I'm writing something similar to that, so...
Yeah, so that creates an interesting shift in the ecosystem, which we can now just kind of go into, like, now that there is a possibility of, like, your fanfic getting picked up and getting sent into the mainstream. I almost think of it like when the first YouTuber got big, and all of a sudden this wasn't, like, a silly little hobby.
Suddenly, like a 7-year-old could be like, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up.
Yeah. And, like, all of a sudden it becomes like, oh, this could be a path to...
something bigger.
Something bigger, yeah. So it stops being hobby and starts being hustle.
Career, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hobby versus hustle. We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah. So one of the big issues that kind of pops up in fanfic spaces right now is one of the reasons that some of the authors that were interviewed in that Substack gave for making the choice to move to traditional publishing, which, by the way, if your fic moves to traditional publishing, you have to take it off the platform.
Which is another thing I don't like.
And yeah, I
mean, it's inevitable if that happens, because they don't want you to be reading the book for free.
Right. So that happens, but so they basically explained, they're like, one of the reasons why I wanted to move into traditional publishing was because it allows me ownership over my work, because fanfic can't be sold for profit legally. But you've got people who are binding fanfic and selling it that way. And they're claiming not to sell the content, they're claiming to sell the craft of binding it into a book. And that's how they kind of get around any copyright stuff.
And for me, I'm of two minds about this. Because I reread Sympathy Crime constantly, and I did
there are fanfics I would love bound beautifully and on my bookshelf.
Well, I saw a comment actually on the it was on LiveJournal, on LiveJournal from a couple years ago, where someone's just like, hey, I bind fanfic for a living. I was asked to bind your fanfiction. Would that be okay? Author never responded because the author's basically abandoned the work. And when we talk about bookbinding, it's a skill, like a very, very intensive skill that you need a lot of material for. And so I'm not necessarily too upset about, like, people, like, saying, like, hey, if you want a work bound, like, I can do that for you. I have no issues with it. Again, but I do think you need author permission. And I don't necessarily think it's someone trying to make profit off of your work. I don't necessarily think that's what's happening. I think someone's just offering their skills in order to do this. And again, consent is important. Consent is important. Also, like, if you're someone who desperately wants a fic to be bound and you know the author would not accept you, like accept that kind of thing because they think you're going to make profit off of it, print it out and put it in a binder. Like, it's...
Print it out and put it in a binder. Also, you can go to, like, a Kinko's somewhere, or Staples.
Yeah.
Or Office Depot, and have your shit bound. Like,
well, the thing is, and then you go into the issues, like, what makes the difference between Kinko's and this independent binder?
See, exactly. You do run into those problems, and again, consent is important. But there's also a difference between, like, because Kinko's, Office Depot, Staples bind a million things. Yeah. Not just fanfic.
Yeah.
Where these people make money off fanfic, specifically.
And are they making money off fanfic specifically, or they're just specifically advertising fanfic because they'll know it'll get in there, but they will bind other things?
I don't know. See, to me, to me, you paying your money to get it, and by the way, a machine is doing this. Yeah. Like, getting it bound at Kinko's for your personal use and not, like, letting it leave the confines of your personal collection, to me, is very different than, like, going to a person and having it bound, because you're also giving that manuscript to somebody else. To me, it's the physical transfer of the thing that, like, concerns me. If you're literally just doing it all yourself, it's like if you bound it yourself. Yeah. Like, to me, it feels a little less because you're not getting other people involved.
Yeah, I mean, but it also depends on how the Kinko's and the Office Depot binding works as well. Yeah, because it is a machine, but also just, like, you could just be handing it off to someone, and what's the difference between that versus handing it off to someone on Etsy? Yeah.
So
there's a very gray area in bookbinding. Again, the reason fanfiction can't be sold is, I mean, there's a very good reason for that, and the fact is that it's copyright. Copyright, just, like, you don't want to face down Disney lawyers.
No, you don't.
You don't. And but then people talk about, like, well, what about fan art? Why is fan art allowed to be sold versus fanfic?
You can license that, can't you?
Fan art can be licensed, but also, like, we go to conventions. All that's fan art.
That's true.
But that's not all. They didn't all contact the company and say that. I mean, I know there's certain companies where it's just like, hey, if you want to make, like, acrylic charms, you have to talk to us first, and it has to be under, like, a certain amount. Because there was a big deal with it when Genshin first got big, where they're like, where people were talking about, they actually have, like, really, really loose fan merch policies. Where they're basically just like, yeah, you can make up to 250 in one batch. And people are like, that's pretty good for a company of that size. And so I'm not super into the fan merch arena, so I wouldn't really know too much about that, but for some reason, selling fan art versus selling fanfic just has two different things, and I think it also has to do with content and creative license. Because with fan art, if I'm just drawing a pic of an illustration of Yosuke Hanamura, I'm not necessarily adding anything creatively, they could creatively license from that. I mean, they could take the style of what I did, but even then you can't, like, copyright a style. Like, there's nothing really there you can do, whereas, like, if I decide to publish my fan fiction and sell it at a convention, and someone of them picked it up and just, like, oh, they're taking stuff from our work. I don't know, it's
copyright law is
it's so hard, it's so difficult.
Gray area. Yeah. So that was kind of one of the reasons they said is I think they were getting book bound without their permission, which is why they were like, this is the only thing that gives me ownership over my work. There's also this I don't think was mentioned in the piece at all, but stuff being fed to AI.
Yeah, that's gonna happen no matter what, unfortunately.
But also there's become a new thing where like for example, when we opened the new Hunger Books, the new Hunger Games book, where it has in the copyright, it says this is not allowed to be used for any kind of
training on AI.
That's still legal recourse that you can go after. Whereas fanfic, you can't copyright it.
There was actually a big scandal back in April where someone crawled all of AO3 and put it in basically an AI, basically up for sale for AI. And eventually, like, it got taken down, but it wasn't without a huge fight. Where they're basically just like, if you have a fanfiction that's below this number ID, it is in this file set. And it'll be used to train on AI until we get this taken down. It did end up getting taken down. I did double check a week ago. But yeah, that was a big deal. I did see if there was like anyone else who had tried again, and someone's like, yeah, I basically did the same thing, but it's only the tags. It's only the tags, it's none of the written stuff. So like, you can't come after me for taking your written work, it's just the tags, it's just the metadata. And I'm like,
yeah, that doesn't.
Yeah, it's still weird. It's still weird.
Another aspect of kind of like how traditional publishing has kind of messed with the fandom ecosystem is the like we talked about previously, the commodification of fandom. There's become sort of the commodification of fan fiction, where writing a story has now become a very creator audience activity rather than a community building activity or a contribution to a community. Where we were talking about things being fed to AI, there has been this trend of fanfics that were unfinished because, like, the author hasn't gotten to it yet, or maybe they abandoned it, you know, whatever, and people will feed it to AI so it'll finish it for them.
Which is unfair.
And then someone, has the audacity to complain and be like, don't do that, I don't like that. And someone said, well, maybe if you update more,
I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't do that.
Well, the thing is, this has also been like an issue with fanfiction for years. It's just ramped up because of AI. Because like, there has been instances in the past where someone's just like, well, you haven't updated this fanfiction in 2 years, so I'm just gonna finish it and post it. Yeah. And that's also not great. But now that AI's here, they'll just be like, I'll just feed it to AI and I'll do it that way.
And it'll tell me a story.
And I'm just like, at least with the person who was trying to finish the fic that had been abandoned, at least they were using their creative muscles.
Yes.
The person just feeding it to AI just wants content.
Yeah, like, it's the fact that there's like this demand, like, and I don't know if this is also like, and I've never spent a lot of time on like Wattpad. I've always read my fanfic on either fanfiction.net or AO3.
I used to spend time on Wattpad. I have not been on Wattpad since like 2014, 2015.
Because Wattpad also seems to be the place where any kind of fanfic to book pipeline thing kind of started, and I don't know if like the community or the vibe on there is a bit more like people expect more steady output.
From what I remember about Wattpad. Because I was on Wattpad when Wattpad books first started getting traditionally published. Not fan fiction, but like certain, like there was a book.
Because you could write originals.
Yeah, there was it was mostly for originals. Fanfic was its own separate category. You couldn't even like tag it as romance and fan fiction. It was just fan fiction. Oh, okay. And again, a lot of One Direction fan fiction. It was so hard to find anything that wasn't One Direction.
There's a lot of supernatural fanfiction on there. I found some.
But basically, because like I would read mostly original fiction on Wattpad. Like I would read a lot of. That's where I found out about the term chicklet. Oh. Because they had a chicklet section.
Okay, that always existed. But...
I know. That's where I found out about the term. Okay. The term. But I remember like that's when Wattpad books first started becoming like published. Like there was a Natasha. I want to say Natasha Bedingfield. That's the Pocketful Sunshine Girl. There was a book called The Cellar that was a YA book that I owned. Yeah. Yep. That was a Wattpad book. That was a Wattpad book. It was okay.
There was one that I read. I forget what it was called, but it was about like a girl who was like a fan of a singer, but she was like super, super agoraphobic and like wouldn't go outside and wouldn't take like a picture of her face, and then you found out she was like killing people at the end. It was like a huge twist. Yeah. I forget what it was called, but it was absolutely insane.
Yeah, but when Wattpad back in the day, it was very much like if you were publishing something on there, you were because it was also like the way of reading on Wattpad, it was very much like reading an e-reader. Yeah. It was like you had to put a cover for your book. You had to put a summary for your book. It wasn't like AO3, it's like you can just throw whatever out there.
It's an infinite scroll too.
Yeah, Wattpad was very like, it was like reading off a Kindle. Which I think also kind of emphasized the fact that it's a book. It's a book that someone's writing. And then from what I've heard about why Wattpad changed over the years, because I moved to AO3 when I was looking for fanfic.
Yeah. I just like their system better.
But yeah, it is better. It is so much better. But when I moved to when I moved to AO3 and what I've heard about Wattpad afterwards was basically I was hearing about this rumors of things happening on AO3 where basically people would put like a fic, title, summary, 20 words in the word count. And when you would click on it, it would just be like, just putting it here to see if anyone's interested.
Yeah, the placeholder fic.
The placeholder fic. And apparently they're like, I know those are annoying, because I would go on the subreddit for AO3 and they'd be like, I know these are annoying. This is people migrating from Wattpad, because that's what you had to do on Wattpad in order to get any sort of traction. Before you wrote something, you had to basically put a placeholder for it.
You almost had, like, pitch it.
Yeah, you basically had to pitch it.
So it's interesting, because Wattpad seems to operate almost like traditional publishing, because you have to pitch it to see if it's going to get views, and then you write it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you got to get approval. Like, that's crazy. Whereas AO3, I'm allowed to even post, like, non-fiction to AO3. It's not popular. But I can write, like, fan essays and things.
Meta,
on AO3.
And podfic, or people will post fan art comics and stuff like that. It's much rarer than, like, fiction writing, but...
Yeah. But there's a lot more you can do with that, but it's, like, it's vast and it's huge, and let me tell you, it's cataloged really well. Because, and again, like, you can go in there and find exactly what you're looking for. Listen, after I came back, I'm gonna really show my ass right now. So after I got out of the Phantom thing, the very first thing I Googled was, it was like Winter Soldier, Phantom of the Opera 8. I was like, saving that.
No, the thing that sucks right now is that I'm getting into 100 line, and like everything is a spoiler currently, and so like I'll get fics recommended, but like this sounds so good, I'm gonna read it after I'm done with this 200-hour game.
Oh yeah,
I have so much stuff on my read later right now. It's insane. But yeah,
so funny. But yeah, like. So it's interesting, because I wonder if, like, I have not been on Wattpad in years, and I know it's been paywalled to hell at this point.
Yeah.
That's the other aspect, is that AO3 and fanfic.net are free.
Yes.
So, fanfiction.net has content guidelines, because fanfic.net has an app through the Apple App Store.
Yes.
Which means you have to obey certain rules to have an app on the App Store. AO3 is a free agent. It is a nonprofit. It is an archive. It's like an archive, like an.
It is run by volunteers.
It is run by volunteers, including the lawyers. And it does not have an app. I have like a link to it on my phone that looks like an app.
I think it's one of the top 50 most accessed websites in the United States.
Yeah, because it's an archive. And now we're getting people who are almost like storming the castle, being like, I don't like that these nasty things are on there. Because it's literally anything and everything.
Yeah.
And like they said in the romance novel documentary, if you have a cup of tea, somebody's pouring it.
Yeah.
Truly.
Oh, yeah.
Anything. The fact that I was able to find a freaking Winter Soldier Phantom of the Opera AU is crazy. We really do live in the right era, don't we?
Yeah.
Like, where else can I get that?
Again, but AO3 is an archive, and then people treat it like it's social media.
They do.
Well.
And they're like, it needs an algorithm, I can't find stuff. And they don't like that stuff is not being fed to them. They don't like that they have to go find it. Because also, a big thing about finding things and not having algorithm stuff recommended to you is you develop taste. Like, the fact that I know what I like in a fanfic. And I know exactly where I can, like, it's five sentences in, and I can just go, nope, and just go back. Like, the fact that I know what I like, the fact that even, like, with the romance stuff, you and I have very specific preferences, and we won't just read any old thing. Like, taste is so... Guys, taste is dying. Me about to go on a tangent. Guys, taste is dying. Please, please, please develop your own opinions.
Well, the thing that threw me for a loop today is, like, right before we were recording, I was on Tumblr, and someone had gotten asked about someone complaining that their ship on AO3 suddenly had 3,000 fics deleted. And everyone's just like, holy shit, that's a lot. That's a lot. Because AO3 does not delete shit.
No.
Unless it's, like, specifically spam. And so basically I did a little research, and the person who received the ask also did a little research, and they're basically just like, so basically what had happened is one of my fandoms that I read for, Genshin Impact, had a ship where basically the people who liked the ship wanted it to be number one on AO3's shipboard or something like that, or number one in the fandom or something. They wanted it to be better in the whatever algorithm they think AO3 has. And so they would take, basically they had this 200-word fanfiction, and they would just spam it. They would just constantly post it. People were saying, like, yeah, well, at its peak, there were like 70 to 80% of the fanfics in the new section were just this one fic translated to different languages.
Which,
And
like, is kind of allowed, but not at that rapid of a pace.
no, it is not. And so basically, AO3 just took all of them down. I'm not sure if they took the author down specifically, but they took all of those down. And, like, and everyone's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
Like, the fact that, like, they were trying to get numbers.
Yeah.
That's just, like, and again, like, that's not what AO3 does.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's rankings and things, like, you know, every year I think
They're not gonna compete with the fucking Harry Potter fandom. I'm sorry.
You're not gonna compete with fucking Distiel, okay? They end up in, like, the top 3 every single year for the top ships. I'm in the Supernatural fandom, and I don't particularly care for it. I just know I'm never gonna win, okay?
Yeah. My favorite ship in Genshin actually has 0 fics. None. 0. Because no one else has my beautiful minds. But, yeah, we won't talk about that. But, yeah, it's just...
So, in the traditional publishing, because, like, basically the second money got introduced, because let's be honest, this is capitalism all the way down, it turned something that was supposed to be a fan community for fun, a way to gain goodwill with people, a way to
connect with people.
It got turned into a hustle.
Yeah.
Instead of
a hobby.
A hobby.
I mean, well, we think about back to the Trekkies from, like, the 50s and 60s. 60s.
Yeah.
60s.
60s and 70s.
Yeah. They were writing fanfiction and showing it to maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 people.
It was, like, for fun. It was for fun, and it was a way to make friends. It was like a weird, nerdy little book club.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now it's like, if you're not hustling, baby, you're losing.
Yeah. And again, everyone's been talking a lot about hobbies these days, and, like, trying to find hobbies that you can do outside of work, and blah, 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 blah.
I'm just like, do stuff you like.
Do stuff you like. What do you like?
Yeah.
Like, fandom is my hobby. Like, that's my thing. Like, you know, and that includes, like, a bunch of other things. That includes looking at fan art. That includes talking to people about the show. That includes reading fanfic. That includes writing fanfic for some people. Right now, I haven't written fanfic in years, but, like...
I mean, I write fanfic, I draw fan art, I have my little media journal, which I write all my thoughts about my stuff on. I play games, I interact with fandom, I make memes.
Yep.
I used to make a lot of, like, video edits. Back in the day.
Me too.
Back when they were called AMVs. Dating myself a little here. But yeah, so it's fandom's a collaborative thing, and once traditional publishing gets involved, it also, like, it damages publishing too. It damages traditional publishing, because there's been people who have been talking about, like, they can't get an inroad in a lot of the traditional publishing because they refuse to market their fic like an AO3 fic.
That's the other thing too. If you want to get into this, talk about the tropification of everything. Because you had thoughts on that.
Yeah. So again, I am a long time peruser of TV tropes. That's my kind of autism. I got it banned from my high school, because I was on it too much. But the one of the major things about TV tropes is that, well, it categorizes basically everything across all fiction. Tropes are not bad. Tropes are tools. Every trope is neutral. And so AO3 also uses tropes because they have tags. So basically, like, you'll be like, snowed in, fever, only one bed, kind of that kind of thing. Which would make sense if, like, you're reading a Destiel fanfic. If you're reading a Destiel fanfic, because basically you would know the kind of dynamic that would play out with these 3 things.
Yeah.
When you're an author writing a romance, and all I see is enemies to lovers, there was only one bed. I don't know, Black Cat X Golden Retriever. I'm like, I don't know who these characters are. These are just you could slap any name on them. I don't know who these characters are. You can't convince me to like these characters if that's all I know of them. And again, a plot summary is helpful there. But the fact that, like, I keep thinking back to the Locked Tomb series. Which is, at least I think this is the Locked Tomb series that I'm thinking of. The Ninth. Harold the Ninth.
Gideon the Ninth.
Gideon the Ninth, yeah. So I tried reading the first one of those. Because it was pitched to me as toxic lesbians, space adventure.
See, to me, I never got space from, like, even the cover.
Oh, it is in space. It is in space.
It doesn't feel like
it. Yeah, they're on a spaceship. It's like spaceship with, like, magic. So...
just give me spaceship.
And I know magic isn't your bag. Let me
always my bag.
Let me finish. Okay. So it was just like, oh, dark toxic lesbians, like stupid butch, said with affection, but they're like making it sound like basically like toxic rom-com but in like fantasy sci-fi setting.
Mm-hmm.
I read the first 50 pages. It is the most dense fantasy, like one of the most dense fantasy sci-fi novels I have ever read. And I'm just not, I liked the characters well enough. I'm just like, there's so much like terminology that I have to keep like flipping back to glossaries to remember that I'm like, why was this pitched to me as like something like I could just like, it was pitched to me like a beach read. And I'm like, it's first of all, it's not doing this book justice because this is clearly a very well-written book, even if it's not my thing. But it's also not helping me find a book that I like. So it's doing the author a disservice, it's doing me a disservice by just pitching it as just tropes. And again, there's nothing wrong with an elevator pitch. That's not the right elevator pitch for this book. And that's what I'm finding keeps happening with a lot of these novels and sometimes even with manga and anime where it's basically just like they're throwing a bunch of tropes at you and just being just like, you like dark-haired aloof girl, you like dog is here, do you like found family, and I'm just like, I can't, give me the text and I will classify it myself.
Yeah.
Whereas AO3, when you're tagging something on AO3, you're doing it because like, I already like this ship, what's the dynamic you're gonna give me?
Yeah.
I already know these characters. What situation are you putting them in? Where instead you're giving me the situation when I don't even know I like the characters yet.
Yeah, it's become a thing now, like, on Goodreads, and I'm pulling this up right now. So I picked up a romance novel a couple weeks ago. Like, I bought it because it was written by Melody Edwards, and I liked her Jane Eyre retelling because it was a romance, but it also did some great like introspective stuff with the characters. So I enjoyed that. So she put out another one called Once Persuaded, Twice Shy, which whenever I look at it, Last Christmas gets stuck in my head. So that's gonna be
Last Christmas.
Yep. So now so that one's gonna be based off Persuasion. So if you go to its page on Goodreads now, which by the way changed its logo but not one lick of UX design, you've got contemporary romance, which is a genre. You've got retellings, which is a genre. But you also get second chance romance, which is more a romance trope than a
genre.
Than a fanfic trope. But then, like, so now I wanted to, like, go down and, like, look at these other ones. So we've got Sex, Lies, and Sensibility, which looks like a Sense and Sensibility retelling. And let's see, we get...
There's a tag for...
Ooh, there's a huge list of tags here.
Oh, okay.
But then we get, like, you know, adult romance, general fiction, dual POV, yeah, like chick lit, small town, forced proximity.
Yeah.
That's one.
But again, these are being tagged by other people.
Yeah, so... But
it's a little different.
It's a little different. They are kind of doing, like, the top tags kind of in their main... I'm
thinking more about, like, when an author or publisher is posting an ad for their book. Especially if it's a romance or a contemporary fic. Contemporary novel. But, because, like, I'll see just basically it's, like, cover art, trope.
And that's
what am I looking at here?
That's like the social media marketing.
Yeah, but again, that's also hypercapitalism.
It is.
Because they have to try to draw you in a single thing, but that's not going to draw me in.
Because if I go to, like, bookpage.com, which is, like, a magazine that, like, a lot of libraries get, you can also just get a subscription yourself. But they do a great, like, you know, they've got their nice little features, and they can give you, like, pretty decent, like, blurbs and things. Like, for example, like, we've got Crash Test, which is an F1 driver man romance. The fact that, like, it's giving me a nice little blurb that kind of gives me plot, but it also gives me, like, what this reviewer thought of it without giving anything away. It's, like, the fact that I can, like, you know, that would be a little bit easier, where I'm just, like, obviously that's a sports romance. It's MLM, which in the fanfiction space does not mean multi-level marketing scheme. It means man-loving man.
Imagine boys kissing now!
Yeah. So it's... There's different classifications, but when I go looking up books, like, I'm going on to places like Bookpage. I am going to Barnes & Noble's, like, website to see what's being, like, announced these days. Or I'm even looking at, like, book reviews in other magazines. I'm not usually the person who's getting all of my recommendations from Instagram, because I've actually been burned a couple of times.
I've been burned so many times because my taste is so specific about social media that basically I will just go into a bookstore and pick up whatever looks interesting, which is, to be honest, I feel like is the best way to do it.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah. So I'll pick up whatever looks interesting, I'll take a picture of it, put it back, and then I'll be like, I'll come back to it later.
Oh, yeah. Like, you don't buy it there and then?
I only usually buy 1 or 2 books at a time because I don't have as much space as you do for books. But, because you have stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks.
Yes, I do.
But, yeah, so it's a lot more difficult, especially when it comes to romance, because I would love to get into, like, a good romance. I just can't find anything that's appealing.
Have you read Red, White, and Royal Blue?
I have no interest in it.
No? See, I cried more at the political stuff than the romance stuff.
Well, I don't want to deal with political drama right now.
No, this was like political fairy tale happy ending. Like, that's the shit I cried at.
No, not my thing. I don't know. Like, I didn't like Heartstopper.
See, but that's another thing too, where I think like YA stuff doesn't hit for me the same anymore. Like, watching Summer I Turned Pretty
also
makes me
almost 30.
Yeah, but you're also in your mid-20s.
Yeah,
your tastes may
mid-20s.
Your tastes might be shifting.
Yeah, my tastes have definitely shifted. I'm reading a YA book right now, but I haven't finished it yet. I'm probably gonna go into something lighter after this because I just need something lighter. But it's just, I don't know. It's when I think of like lighter fic, it's very, very hard for me to get into a lighter book, and then people will do it by tropes, and I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And it's unfair to the authors if the tropes aren't, if what they're being marketed as isn't what it's kind of meant to be. And it's unfair to the readers when they pick up something that, like, I picked up Gideon the Ninth, and I came in expecting, fun, goofy, lesbian road trip through space, and I got 50 pages of intense political drama. Which, again, well-written political drama, not what I was expecting. But, yeah, it's just, it's I don't think this melding of fanfiction and traditional media, I mean, maybe it could work out in the end, but right now it's very ugly.
Yeah. So I don't want to end this on a completely negative note, but we could talk about, like, so there's like a phrase that people will say, and it can mean multiple things, where they will pick up a book and they will say, this reads like fan fiction, and that can be derogatory, or that can be very
affectionate. Yeah.
When I was younger, especially, if I found, like, a really good YA romance, I would usually say it reads like fanfic, probably because of the accessibility of the writing. I don't think I've ever read a fanfic that felt dense, like what you just described with Gideon the Ninth. Like, I've never read something where I felt like I have to swim through, like, just gallons upon gallons of, like, exposition or, like, description or whatever. I felt like you're always getting right to the point, which is also, like, when I, like, track stuff on Storygraph or whatever, it says I like medium paced. Like, I don't like to waste time. Yeah, and I think one of the benefits to fanfiction is the fact, I think I said this earlier, but, like, everything's already established. Yes. Unless you're doing, like, an AU, everything's already established. You don't need the world building. And even, like, there are AUs that are so specific to the fanfic space, for example, Omegaverse, where people know the rules going in. Yeah. For the most part. For the most part. I don't, because I don't like reading that stuff. And the thing is, like, even as someone who has read a lot, there's even, like, there's different rules depending on who the author is. See, that's annoying. But, like, usually there's, like, I'm not gonna go into the specifics of Omegaverse, but, like, usually it's, like, you can tell, like, which specific tropes they're using, if you're a connoisseur like me. Like, I read a book in high school called Fan Art, like, literally called Fan Art, and it was about, like, 2 boys, and they were falling in love, and the other one didn't know if he, like, liked the other one, and, like, when I was reading it, because what I was consuming at the time was also fanfic, I liked it so much because it read like the stuff I was reading online. Yeah. What probably the one that comes to mind when I think about, like, whenever I say something that reads like fanfiction, I usually feel like it feels like wish fulfillment. Like, not necessarily like self-insert wish fulfillment, but just more just like, again, it's the HEA. It's the happily ever after. It's the warm fuzzy feelings. That's what it reads like fanfiction to me. The only book that I've read where people are just like, this reads like fanfiction, and I'm just like, I actually love this, there was this book called Gamer Girl. Yeah! Which I read back when I was in middle school. So did I. It was
very, very cute. It's about this girl who, like, she likes to draw manga, and she loves, like, geek stuff, and she basically joins a World of Warcraft server and ends up, like, she has a crush on a guy. It's very like high school drama, but like nerdy high school drama. And as a kid in middle school who like was into manga and stuff like that and also felt very isolated like this girl did, it was nice. It was nice to read, just because like, oh no, she actually does find her place. She actually does, you know, find everything cool. And everyone's just like, this is so cringe. And I'm like, it's not. This is what it felt like. This is what it felt like. This feels like fanfiction. For me. For me specifically. What? Yeah.
That's the other thing, too. I think, like, when it feels like it's catered to you, there's a fanfic element.
This is my hole. It was made for me.
Yeah. Well, like, when I watched the movie Your Monster, like, that was, it was literally, like, musical theater, a Beauty and the Beast story, beast metaphor for feminine rage. Like, it just felt like it had been focus grouped for me. You know what I mean? And it was also, like, my favorite book growing up was Beastly by Alex Flynn, and I've read, like, pretty much all of her books. There's a few I've missed, but that was a Beauty and the Beast retelling that took place in New York. The movie is its own vibe. Like, let's just say that. I don't treat those two things as adaptations. They are just their own vibe. But basically in the movie, they didn't go full Manimal with the Beast, and people also found that kind of annoying. Because basically they gave the lead actor just a lot of tattoos.
And he's bald.
Like, it's stuff that, like, wouldn't be considered ugly under the
just
race.
Alternative.
He's just alt looking, and it was 2011, but, like, Your Monster kind of felt like a do-over for Beastly for me, because the Beast design was very much how I pictured the Beast in the book. And it was just, like, I was like, oh, this is just, like, all my favorite, like, interests. The tone felt right. Like, the costume design and the makeup design was great. And also, hey, musical theater, so there's songs. And it's considered a horror movie, but I wouldn't call it scary. And it was just really, really cute, and, like, definitely, like, a Halloween rewatch. And, like, that's the kind of thing where I'm like, yeah, it reads like fanfiction, because, you know, you get the monster lover element, which is definitely a fanfic trope, and a dark romance trope. But it wasn't dark in that way. It was actually very cute, like, monster romance.
And I think that ties into the fact that, like, again, going back to kind of what we were saying at the top of the episode, both fanfiction and romance, it's wish fulfillment. If something reads like fanfiction, it's usually because it's fulfilling some sort of need within you. Or sometimes it reads like it was written by an 11-year-old who just got access to AO3. But I have not read any books that have felt like that.
Oh, I have recently.
One. I read one, but I'm not going to talk about it. Actually, I will. No, I'm not going to talk about it. But, like, it again, I don't necessarily think that the crossover between fanfiction and traditional publishing can be bad. I think maybe it's going through some growing pains right now. But there's so much overlap between fanfiction and romance that I think
it's a bit of a no-brainer.
It's a bit of a no-brainer, yeah. I think they can help each other and also hurt each other. So there's nuance. Nuance to this conversation.
Nuance, yes.
Yeah.
So that was the fanfiction to mainstream publishing pipeline. This went by so fast. Like,
oh my god, we were just yapping.
We had a lot to say. Also, it was just more structured for us, but yeah, it's a really interesting topic, and, like, again, this can go along with the commodification of fandom, but we definitely felt like this was an episode on its own. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you guys read fanfiction? I would hope you do, if you're listening to this.
If you don't, go read fanfiction now. Go on AO3, look up anything you like.
There's something for everybody,
if you like tea, someone's pouring it.
Yep. Yeah. Highly, highly recommend.
Write fanfiction. Write fan art.
Fiction.
Talk to fans.
Talk to fans. Get involved in the community. Don't be demanding with your fanfic authors.
Go to conventions. Remember, there's real people behind everything.
Yes.
Don't feed shit into AI.
Don't do that.
Don't.
It's disrespectful. Stop that.
But, yeah.
Anyways, that was this week's episode of the Kill Your Normie podcast. We will be back in 2 weeks with a episode on the nostalgia aesthetic, which is going to be kind of your
bag. This is my bag.
To be honest, with our design, we kind of play into that a little.
Yeah.
But we will get into that next week, and we will see you very soon.
Stay cool, guys. It's hot out.